Thank you, Ray. Bobby. Christmas, right? Christmas, Christmas, Christmas. It's the time of year everybody talks about it. We get all excited about it and everything else like that. How many feel it? Are you starting to feel it a little bit? Is it starting to ramp up? I don't know what it's like for you, but what happens is it ramps. That's what happens. It starts to ramp, and there's a couple of things that really help me start to tie into it. One of the things I love to do is absolutely love music. And for me, music is the thing that starts firing it up, and I can start feeling that energy of Christmas coming through when I'm listening to different types of music. I'm a huge Pentatonics fan, and they've got a new special right out on YouTube. I don't know if you've seen it or not, but it's absolutely fabulous if you haven't had a chance to watch that. But Christmas is this amazing time of year. And I want to talk a little bit about that from a couple different perspectives. I want to talk about it from this incredible, amazing being that we call Jesus, his birth, and that's what the whole party's about, right? The birth of Jesus. But then I also want to talk about it from a different kind of a spin, which is the metaphysical standpoint. And what are we talking about? This whole birth of Christ thing. Come on, what are we doing here? What's that all about? Before I get in there, though, as I was researching this, I started to stumble across some historical information that I just found fascinating, because some of this stuff I didn't really know about in terms of how did this whole thing get started. Because if you look at the tradition as it is today, it's not what it was 100 years ago. It's not what it was 500 years ago. It's not what it was 2,000 years ago. Obviously, it's changed a little bit. And so when we talk about this whole thing called the Advent season, Advent is the Greek word meaning coming. Okay, coming. So then we sit there and assume, well, then I guess we're waiting for the coming of the Christ. That's what we're waiting for, is the birth of the baby, right? Well, that's not the way it was when it originally started. Not exactly, right? There was a celebration that was called the Epiphany Feast. Anybody ever hear of that? I've never heard of it. Up until this year, Mike did not know what that was. Never even heard of it. Didn't know what it was. It's one of the oldest Christian feasts that there is. And it's been celebrated since the end of the 2nd century. And like other Christian traditions, it actually was an old pagan festival. That's where it came from. And it comes from the Greek word meaning to reveal, as in when the baby is revealed, or as when Jesus was revealed. But at that time, what happened was the people actually were celebrating on January 6th. So where did this whole January 6th thing came from? Well, the tradition is 12 days. What about the 12 days? So if you go from January 25th and you count 12 days, that's January 6th. Well, what does all that mean? Why? Well, in the early traditions, it was a guess in terms of how long it took the wise men to see the star, to walk to Bethlehem to find Jesus. It was a guess. And so that's where January 6th. The tradition, by the way, is still celebrated in different parts of the world. And some people in the world actually celebrate what we would consider traditional Christmas on January 6th. And they exchange the gifts, they take the day off work, and they do all this other stuff like that. So I found that just absolutely fascinating. They also will sometimes call January 6th Three Kings Days. I don't know if you've ever heard that or not. Again, to me, it was like interesting. I'm like, how did I not know that, right? Anyways, so we have this celebration. It's this time of preparing. And what we think, here's another little interesting little tidbit, that we think it's about the birth of Jesus. Did you know, though, originally it wasn't the celebration about the birth of Jesus? It was actually about the second coming of Jesus. And it wasn't until the middle century that they flipped it. And instead of focusing on Jesus' second coming, they focused on his birth. But that didn't happen until mid-century. And I just find that fascinating. Isn't it fun? I just find all this stuff so fun to think about this. So we've got all of these different traditions coming in. Even when you think about, for example, the lighting of the candles. Spoiler alert, we do them in a particular order. We do them hope and faith, peace, love, and joy. But that's not the way that they were always done. Hope's usually been up there, pretty close to it. However, the second candle used to be lit for preparation. We're preparing for something. That's what the second candle was. The third candle was for joy and peace versus love, what it is today. And then the last candle was actually love versus joy, which is how we celebrate it. So you've got all these really, really crazy traditions going on, all this amazing fun things. And I just think it's fascinating to study it. But then what I like to do is I like to sit back and go, what is it that makes this celebration? What is it that makes this time of year so, for me, personally, it's magical. It's powerful. There's something palatable about it. I can feel it as it ramps up and we get closer and closer. I'm telling you, my energy starts to come off the charts in terms of my own spiritual awareness and my own spiritual awakening. It's like I'm vibrating by the time Christmas Day gets here. And honestly, it's been like that ever since I was a kid. There's something that this just really resonates with me. And I was thinking about that. And I thought about Jesus. And when you really think about what it is that Jesus did, which is pretty amazing stuff, right? But when you really sit down and think about Jesus, he embodied love. That's what he did. He had this thing that he knew that was love. And he also believed fully that his job was to show up as the divine or as love and just let love flow through him. When you really study Jesus and what he did, that's exactly what he did. He showed up in every single instance, in every single way, and he was love. And he just let that flow through him. And it was powerful. Powerful. This thing called love. And I really think when we celebrate Christmas, in my opinion, it's a celebration of love. Only we all become aware of it. And we all have this thing where we think it's about the Christmas, and we think it's about the gifts, and we think it's about getting together with family, and we think about, but if you read between the lines, if you really look at this celebration, what does it come down to? It comes down to love, folks. It comes down to love. And that's what he did, and others. They just showed up and they let the divine flow through them. They let the love flow through them. They were completely open. They made themselves a channel for unconditional love. It's kind of like you show up and you just go, hey, God, what do you want me to do here? When you start playing with this, you start to understand that this thing called love has got a power, it's got an energy, and it can be moved. And it can transform not only your life, but the lives of others by doing simple little things. It doesn't mean you got to get up and do what Mike's doing. It doesn't mean you got to do anything other than be you. That's the most beautiful part about it. Each of us in our own little way, but we make a commitment to this thing called love. I just think during Christmas it's just so much easier to do because it's kind of like there. So when you can really tap into it, then you can really start having a party with it. Then it gets to be really fun. That's what I love about Christmas is because you're hanging out, you get to go with your friends, you get to go with your family, you get to drink eggnog, you sing Christmas carols. It's just a good time. And that's the thing that's so amazing about it. You know, I really think sometimes we think about this trip, this journey that we're on is supposed to be, oh, home. You know, I guess I got to go read the book and study this, and I got to meditate, and I got to do all this stuff like that. And it's cool. Like, that's awesome stuff to do. But my God, when you embody it, holy cow, everything changes. Everything changes because you embody it, and then you get to share it. And nothing feels better than sharing love. Nothing feels better than sharing love. And so we get to play with it. And that's the Christmas. That's the fun part of it, right? In the book of John, it says, God is love, and those who abide in love abide in God. Well, from Webster's, Abide means to remain stable or fixed in a state. Now check that out. When you back that up, when you think about it for a minute, it means so if God is love, those who are fixed in a state of love are fixed in a state of God. How many people would love to be fixed in a state of God? Everybody does. We really do, most of us. What do we want? Love. All we need is love. Dun, 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 dun. Right? All we need is love. That's why. Because it is the essence of the divine. It's that thing that when it flows through you, you cannot possibly get enough of it. I want more. I want more. I want more. And then all of a sudden I'm walking around and I'm like, well, how can I do that, God? How can I do that more? How can I give more love? How can I give more love? How can I do what Jesus did? But I don't want to do it the way that Jesus did. I want to do it the way that Mike did it. And I guarantee you if Jesus was standing right here, he would say, he's right. It's not about the way that I did it. It's about the way that you can do it because it's not going to look the same. You don't need to go crawling up on a cross and do all of that. I did it, right? We don't have to go to that extreme. But you can do it in so simple ways, little, tiny acts of kindness, little things can make such a huge, huge difference in the lives of people. I happened to see a video that showed what just a little tiny act of love, the difference that it can make, the wave that it can create. And I want to show that to you. So imagine that this boy sees something happen. He reaches down. He picks him up because the boy's been injured. And he also happened to see some people that were painting stuff on a wall, and he decided to do something about it. So now he's going through and he's starting to think about, well, maybe I can make a difference. Maybe I can go paint. Maybe I can get other people to help me paint. And as a result of it, what happens is now we start seeing the impact of it. You're going to see people after people after people start to do things, one after another. They continue to reach out. They're continuing to help. That video is really cool. By the way, if you want to see the whole thing, ask me afterwards. I'll give you the link to it because it's so cool. It's so cool because what you've got is you've got literally 30 to 40 different people that stand in line because one person sees, one person does something, and then the next person does, and then the next person does, and then the next person does, and the next thing you know, all of a sudden, this tsunami of love is going out into the world, and all of a sudden, it's changing everybody. We look at the news, we listen to the news, we watch the news, we hear everything else that's going on, and we don't think we can do anything. Oh my God, that is so wrong. That is so wrong. Don't let anybody ever, 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 ever try to tell you that you can't make a difference. Your presence makes a difference because of who and what you are. You are divine incarnate, just as you are. You don't have to earn that. That's who and what you are. And I mean that very humbly. I don't mean that arrogantly. It's not like I'm up here going, look at me. I'm not. What I'm saying is that each and every single one of you has the seed of the divine in you. And because of that, you can do things with that. You can change lives just because of who and what you are. As long as you believe that. As long as you practice that, as long as you play with the spiritual principles that we talk about, and you stay grounded, and you stay connected, and you do your work, all the stuff that we talk about. And by the way, in January and February, I'm going to be doing a series on spiritual principles and practices. So if you want to dive into that and develop your own spiritual practice, and notice, you're not developing Mike's spiritual practice. You're developing your own spiritual practice, which I highly, highly recommend. Highly. But that's what it's about. using these different practices so that you can stay connected with yourself, so you can stay connected with the divine, and then you can go out in the world and do some pretty incredibly amazing things, which makes it so much fun because you're doing this dance. You're doing this amazing, incredible, beautiful dance with your divinity, with God, with Mother Earth, and the heavens. And we get to do this dance. The other part about Christmas that I think some people miss is, what is this metaphysical understanding? Because Unity believes that the Bible can be interpreted in different ways, and there's a metaphysical understanding. And when we think about Jesus metaphysically, he is and represents the I am. That's what Jesus is. And when he represents that, what happens is you all of a sudden start to go, well, wait a minute. So Jesus came down, he became the divine in human form, and he basically was an example for everybody else. Remember, Jesus said, this and greater things you can do. There was a reason, a very specific reason he said that, and it's been incredibly watered down throughout history. Some people would say intentionally, some people would say maybe not. Doesn't matter. But the point is, he was the example for us, right? And so Jesus metaphysically came down here, and he was the embodiment. He was the Christ. So we have two things, really. We have Jesus, the human being that was incarnated as a man. He's hanging out. But then Jesus also was the Christ. Unity believes that that Christ is something that's inside of each and every one of you. That's what I mentioned earlier. That each and every one of us has the seed within us. The Christ seed within us. That's the difference between Unity and some of the more traditional teachings. Is that we really believe each and every one of you has the seed of the divine within you. We really do believe that. That's what we teach. That's what we believe. That's what we've been doing for 125, 150 years, whatever it is. Fillmore's did it. A lot of people have done it, not just the Fillmores. It's amazing that we all have that seed within us. And then when all of a sudden you realize that, it's like, well, wait a minute. I've got the seed within me. I don't have to do it. It's just because of who and what I am? Yeah. But the trick with that is that basically because of, dare I say, brainwashing, of who we taught we were and who we were not, we don't believe that. For some of us, we were actually taught to believe just the opposite of that. I was born in original sin, I'm a sinner, and blah, 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 blah. Right? Anybody go down that road? Anybody been there? Yeah, I figured there might have been one or two of you. And so that's what we were taught to believe, and that's really, honestly, for the most part, what humanity was taught to believe. There are some pretty cool religions out there that have been around for a really super long time that maybe don't quite go as deep into that stuff. So I'm not here to bash anything. I believe that everything served a purpose. But I'm also saying, as you start to wake up and you start to trust and you start to study and you start to take responsibility for your own spiritual awakening, because that's really what we're talking about. Although I really question whether it's an awakening. I think it's just an acceptance and an acknowledgement. So there's this thing where it's like you actually aren't waking up. You're just finally looking at yourself in the mirror and going, I acknowledge who and what I am, and I accept who and what I am to the highest level. Like, if it's one thing I could encourage you to do, to consider, sit down in silence. Have a little prayer. Hey, God, it's me. I want to just take a moment and I want to fully acknowledge and I want to fully accept my own divinity. Right here, right now. I don't know what that looks like. I don't know what it sounds like. I really don't even know what's supposed to happen after I say those words. But I'm not backing off of it. I'm not going to run away from it. I'm not going to hide from it. Oh, no. Oh, no, 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 no. I'm going to accept it, and I'm going to acknowledge it, and I'm going to do it every single day. And every single day, I'm going to get stronger, and that understanding is going to become more and more clear, and I'm going to do it. I'm going to do exactly what Jesus told me to do, which was to believe that. And every single day, I'm going to show up to the highest level of my ability, and I am going to do this every single day and see where that takes me. Watch your life change, if that's what you want. There is every one of us has a set of, it's almost like instructions for your soul. Every one of us has them, but those instructions will not be given to you until you ask for them. How many people knew that? That is absolutely the truth. And guess what? Your instructions are different than mine. Don't let anybody ever tell you that's not the case, because it is. We all see it and understand it a little bit differently. We're all little pieces of the divine. And that code, if you will, that set of instructions is going to look a little bit differently depending on who and what you are. You can't get that until you ask for it. It doesn't happen. But I promise you, if you ask for it, if you acknowledge it, you better put your seatbelt on, because you're going to go for a ride like you've never imagined. Because it's incredible. Because of who and what you are. So, having said that, as we play and have fun with this Christmas season, I just ask you to remember that. Like, wow, he was saying this little thing called love. Like, that's pretty cool. Like, how could I go give more love? What does that look like for you? I don't know. Take a few minutes and kind of think about it. Think to yourself, what can I do? What would it look like? What would it feel like? How would I show up and give more love in this moment? What would a little small act of kindness look like? And see what happens. See what kind of messages show up. See what shows up if you're listening to the radio. See what happens when a friend calls you up and says, hey, I need some help, or do you want to go do this? Or you want to go there? It's endless. It is absolutely endless. We're not in a short need of help. I don't know if you've noticed that. This planet needs a little bit of help. And guess what? We are all, each of us, are God's hands, and his ears, and her eyes, and everything in between. We're the whole package. So, having said that, thank each and every one of you for coming here this morning. Thank you for who and what you are. Thank you for having the courage to be on this planet at this point in time. I know for some of you, you're struggling. I know that, because this sometimes can be a struggle for some people at this time of year. I get it. If there's anything that I can do for you, please let us know. If there's anything the church can do for you, please let us know. Because we're here to serve each and every one of you. Don't ever forget who you are. You are a brilliant, brilliant child of the divine. It doesn't matter what happened yesterday. It doesn't matter what happened 10 years ago. It doesn't matter. None of that matters. All that matters is you're here, right now. And as you start to play with these principles, all of a sudden stuff starts to change. And guess what? Our heart starts to open up. And then guess what? You can kind of hang out and you see stuff and you don't judge it. You just love 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 it. And what a ride it is. What a ride it is. God bless. Have a great day.